All right, so I'm going to be sharing something with you that has taken me years to understand, process, and actually be able to embody. And this is going to be the more aligned path in relation to the path that maybe we would look at as being misaligned. And excuse all the dust. um the path where we're making choices that we consider to be bad and not healthy, where we're in the unhealthy relationship, where we're addicted to substances, doom scrolling, um unhealthy eating, even maybe harming others. If you know anything about my story, I've been to jail, I've been to prison, I was in the streets, and I used to hurt a lot of people. And although from a 3D perspective, we can look at that as the misaligned path, a path that isn't really in alignment, from a higher density perspective or from the higher awareness of the higher self, I actually chose to simulate that specific reality as that specific version of myself, just to go through those experiences to understand higher self, to human self, what it's even like to experience the reality that I was experiencing. Now, it doesn't mean that was necessarily the most authentic path, but it's still a path that I chose to walk, not just because I was a complete fuck up. That's the more human lens of looking at it, but because it's an experience that my higher self, which is me, wanted to have. So, when we're talking about walking a path of alignment, oftentimes we have to walk the more misaligned path. And some of us spend a majority of our lives walking that misaligned path, being a version of us that isn't really true to who we are on that deeper soul level. We have a lot of trauma in our systems. A lot of the time, we're going to be very in avoidance to the trauma. We have a lot of emotions that are connected to that trauma that we're not necessarily processing. And we create these identities, we create belief systems, we create friendships, all on a subconscious level in avoidance to what we're feeling inside. And what we're feeling inside is in direct connection to our wounded inner child. It's the abandonment, it's the neglect, it's the anger, it's the fear, all of these different negative emotions that we don't want to feel. So we have parts of ourselves that play a role where they will get us to do things that release dopamine, because dopamine, it feels good. It's like that feel good chemical within the body, and there are parts of us that get really good at knowing how to release that, and they get good at knowing how to release it because they're running on a program where they're trying to keep us away from the fact that we don't feel good. We're very hurt, we're very neglected, we're very abandoned, and we're carrying with us all of this childhood trauma. And it's avoidance to this childhood trauma in processing the emotions that are associated with it so we can be with it, feel through it, and release it, that actually puts us on what we would view from a more 3D perspective as being the misaligned path. But that path, it has a purpose. And if you're walking a path right now that you feel like is misaligned, it very well may be from one perspective, and it's certainly not a path that you want to stay on forever, but it's a path that the higher self is choosing to experience through you. Your soul is a fractile of your higher self, and your soul is actually simulating many, I don't even know what the number would be, but many parallel versions of you that from your perspective of time would be either future versions of you, past versions of you, and then there's the you that's right here in the present moment. But when we zoom out of, the way that we're conditioned to experience time, or the way that we typically experience time, you then realize that time is actually an illusion, and there's all of these different simultaneous incarnations that are happening all at once. There's a you that's listening to this video, and is resonating. There is a you that is listening to this video and you're like, screw that guy, he doesn't know what he's talking about. There's a you that has another opinion about what I'm saying. There's a you that's gone through completely or, somewhat different life experiences, um, you know, than you're going through right now or have went through. Maybe in one of your lives, your mom was very abusive. Maybe in another life, your mom's a really nurturing mother and she's like a different person versus how she was in this incarnation that you're experiencing right now. The truth is, you are experiencing many different lifetimes all at once, and from the human lens, what you would perceive to be the worst case scenario for you could be happening in another timeline, and your higher self doesn't make mistakes. It's simulating this experience for a reason. So if you're watching this video and if you're in an unhealthy relationship, if you're, maybe addicted to substances, addicted to unhealthy eating, whatever it might be, maybe you have belief systems that are very limiting, but you don't know how to let go of them. Whatever it is, you are perfect the way you are. Now, this is not a pass for all of the things that I just told you about. Obviously, you have the ability to shift your awareness from timeline to timeline to timeline, and you want to be in your highest evolutionary timeline. But the timelines that maybe you're deeming to be, not necessarily as healthy, or not necessarily, what's the word I'm looking for, as beneficial to your soul's development, are beneficial to your soul's development, and that's why they're happening, even though when you become aware, you don't necessarily want to keep experiencing the unhealthy relationship. You don't want to necessarily keep experiencing the substance abuse. You don't necessarily want to keep experiencing the false self, because there are timelines where you are your truly authentic self and you have much more of a resonance with your higher self, versus the timelines where you don't, versus the timelines where maybe you don't even come across this video, or you do, and you're not even in resonance with what I'm saying because maybe you're completely shelled off from your authentic self-expression. So what you're experiencing right now, you are meant to experience, and you don't want to feel shame for where you're at. If you're in relationships that aren't the healthiest, even though you want to pull away from those at some point and begin shifting your energetic resonance, which will shift you into a timeline where you have healthier relationships, you don't want to down yourself for where you're at, because there's a reason why that even exists in the first place. And everything in all of these different timelines that you're experiencing is a mirror meant to help you master yourself. You are a powerful creator, and there is absolutely nothing that you create in any of these timelines that isn't meant to serve you. Everything that you create is meant to serve you. In fact, the timelines where you're the false self provide the polarity and the contrast to the timelines where you are the true self, to the timelines where you are more so an embodiment of your higher self, because you are conscious that the higher self is running the show, and all you need to do is sit back and match the energy of the you that is already existing, and then live your life as that version of yourself. So there's no shame for where you are at right now. Once again, I want to make sure this is clear. You don't want to stay in the unhealthy relationship. You don't want to stay addicted to the unhealthy coping. But if you feel like you can't put those things down, there's still a resonance between that relationship or whatever you use to cope and yourself. And in fact, you might keep going back to that, whatever it is for you, until you are sick of it, and until the very thing that you may look at as a problem, until you find the solution in it. In fact, any problem that you create for yourself has the solution, which is actually why you keep going back to it. It's much deeper than just on the human biological level. You're addicted to the relationship, or you're, addicted to the unhealthy coping. Yes, that's true. But on a deeper energetic level and on a subconscious level, you're led back to that thing until you learn the lesson that you need to learn, and you go through the deeper process that you need to go through within yourself to heal the wounds that you've been in avoidance to, and to unblend from the parts of you that are using that relationship or using that addiction to heal those wounds that are existing in your system. And you will keep going through these negative cycles over and over and over and over again until you realize this, until you heal through the traumas inside of your body and inside of your energetic field that are keeping you in that timeline where you are doing this over and over and over. But you don't need to shame yourself when you're going through those cycles. In fact, if you do, it may even take you longer to break out of those cycles. You want to have acceptance for where you are at, because there's a reason why, as a higher self, you chose to simulate the current version of yourself, and you chose to have that experience with all of the different relationships that are going on in your life. And when it comes to vices, all of the different vices that you might be experiencing. Your higher self wanted to experience that, and you are your higher self. Before I end the video, once again, this does not mean you want to be addicted to drugs. This does not mean that you want to be in unhealthy relationships. And this does not mean that you want to stay attached to the false self, because that's going to keep you in these timelines where you are, at a core level, you're just not happy. But it's that contrast that this provides that can lead you to shifting into a resonance to where you are happy, to where you are authentic, and you have acceptance for yourself. So wherever you're at now, you can start by having acceptance for that version of you.